All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty Show, special edition show today. Matty, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing great, feeling refreshed, ready to talk about some crypto.
Matty, we're going to have a great show today. Crypto tier list from a subscriber. But before we get into that, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the link in the pinned comment below. Check us out there where we do crypto education. Below that, shop.cryptocharge.com. And below that will be nothing. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Team, this greatly helps us. And we want to do a little bit of a special edition show for you today and keep it fresh. But I do have to preface this. Me and Matty just went over this because I want Matty to be focused on delivering you his opinions on these cryptos. So we already kind of mapped out what crypto is going to go in each section here. But Matty's just going to, Matty goes on his monologues here. And so that's going to be pretty entertaining for you guys to kind of get a scope of where Matty ranks all these cryptos when, we're putting them on a screen together here. So we're going to get into that today. Matty, are you ready?
Let's do this thing.
Just to give the credit here, Chandler Hoff asked the question 562, when are you going to do a crypto tier list? Chandler, we're going to do it today. Let's get into this. All right, Matty, we are at the tier list here, and we're starting it off with Solana. But before we get into this, Matty, is there anything you want to tell the team on how you're going to be ranking these cryptos?
Sure. So, you might disagree with some of my rankings here, and I respect everybody's opinion and ability to make investment decisions for yourself. This is, of course, not financial advice. This is just, after being in the space for years and seeing a lot of different projects, a lot of different development, I kind of have to be a little bit more critical, a little bit more harsh prior to just, putting money into the market because each dollar is precious and we need to be very tactical with those. So some of these projects, you might be a little bit upset about, but I feel like the reasoning I have for these is pretty reasonable. And I think that you should, for the most part, agree with everything I have to say.
Like that, Matty. All right, Matty, we're starting off with Solana down here. Where are you putting Solana on this tier list?
So I think this is where the pitchforks come out from the comments section. Solana is unfortunately going to have to go in the mid-tier section. It doesn't go in the bad tier section, and the reason that we put it in the mid-tier section is because of the downtime. So Solana has NFTs that you can do very cheaply on their network. The TPS is very good. They're integrated with a lot of different platforms. So from that perspective, Solana is really, really excellent. The two things that are holding me back from Solana right now as a whole, one is going to be the downtime that Solana's had. I cannot even think of another blockchain that has had already, or the other DLT solution that's had as much downtime and as many hacks where they've had to stop the network as we've had on Solana. So that alone, unfortunately, dropped it from good to mid. And then the other portion, just from a short-term perspective that's concerning to me, is that FTX on their balance sheet still holds a tremendous amount of the outstanding supply of Solana right now. It's incredibly likely that they're not going to just distribute that Solana back to investors. It's more likely they're going to have to liquidate it, and they're going to do some sort of reorganization of the debt and come to an agreement with creditors. So for those two reasons, unfortunately, I can't be a long-term bull on Solana. I do have a trade opportunity I've set up. If we get into that $4 or $5 region, I'll trade Solana, but I will not be holding Solana long-term for that reason.
Valid points there, Matty. All right, we got to talk about Big Daddy Bitcoin here, Matty. Where are you throwing it on the chart?
Yeah, so Bitcoin's going to go in the good category. And I think that you guys, if you've been here long enough, know exactly why that is. For Bitcoin, it's become a little bit of an old boy at this point, right? We have so much tech that's evolved, and this is just the nature of technology, and why I never want to get married to a single asset is because, if you think about when Bitcoin was created, we didn't even have 4K data yet, right? Like the world was still running on 1080p when the white paper was published for Bitcoin, right? So just perspective of when this tech was created. Now, from the purity standpoint, from the decentralized peer-to-peer standpoint, from the pureness of proof of work, right? It still provides some sort of value to the crypto ecosystem. I think that Bitcoin continues to do well cycle after cycle, but a lot of it has to do with the ROI for me. There's just not enough return on Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin still blows your Dow Jones exposure out of the water. If I were to say, hey, give me 10% of my portfolio in Bitcoin or 10% in the Dow Jones, I'm picking Bitcoin all day long. But there's still a lot of things that need to be ironed out with Bitcoin right now. Basically, if you're not using the Lightning Network, there's a lot of congestion that can occur on Bitcoin, right? Also with the ordinals coming online, there's just a lot of things that we're trying to build on top of old technology, right? For me, it's kind of trying to like cram a supercharger into a Model T. It could potentially work, but you have a lot of things to iron out in order for it to satiate our current monetary system.
Matty, if this was just a tech crypto tier list, would Bitcoin be bad?
You know, if we're going to say that Bitcoin, if we're going to take away the investment part of it, we're going to stop putting it on a pedestal and calling it digital gold, right? We're going to just talk about the actual mechanics and value that Bitcoin provides. I would say it probably almost belongs in the bad tier. You know, again, we're Lightning Network as like an L2 solution, very, very good. Bitcoin on its own, peer-to-peer, not that great. Just my opinion.
Valid. All right, Matty, XLM here.
So we're going to throw XLM in the amazing tier. Obviously, this was created by Jed McCaleb, who was a co-founder of the XRP ledger. So a good portion of the tech is modeled almost one for one after the XRP ledger. Of course, there are some things that make it different. You know, you can run stable coins over the XLM network, and they've recently integrated Euro USD, which is basically USDC, but you know, for the euro. They have definitely some great partnerships. The reason that it goes in the amazing tier versus the perfect tier is because the tech is so similar. I think that XRP supersedes XLM because of the partners that Ripple has made, and obviously being the biggest entity that leverages XRP for those ODL corridors. So still phenomenal asset. Can't shit talk XLM, but it's going to go in the amazing tier instead of the perfect tier.
Matty, this wouldn't be a crypto video if we did not talk about Doge, your favorite altcoin. Where is Doge going on this tier list?
So I think we actually need to add a tier that says like hell or the boiler room or something to put Doge in. And I know that, again, this is where the pitchforks come out in the comments, but it's going to go in the bad tier. You know, for me, the number one thing that I look at with an asset is what is the value that's being provided here? What are you offering that's proprietary? Who's going to be leveraging this technology? What computational demand is going to be on this network as the days go on, right? And I just don't see that with Doge, right? It really just doesn't make sense. It's a proof of work model, which again, anytime I see proof of work, it really just doesn't get me that excited because we have DAGs and hash graphs and all these different models that are exponentially faster, higher TPS, same security, right? I think that from a decentralization standpoint, that's really why people enjoy proof of work so much. But at the end of the day, when we kind of have this cross between like regulation and technology, you kind of have to have a little bit of compromise on both sides, right? And unfortunately, part of that compromise, as regulation gets ushered in, some of that decentralization gets peeled back. So for me, you know, I think that I'm going to have to just keep any sort of meme coin that doesn't provide some amazing proprietary value in that bad tier just because there's so much risk. Now, it doesn't mean that people can't make money and people go, well, I made good money on Doge. Yeah, but nobody tells you about how much money they lost on Doge, right? More people lost money than made money on Doge, or they watched it go all the way up and then they didn't sell anything and it's worth less than what they paid for it, right? It's completely speculative. And someone could argue that the entire crypto market is speculative, but I disagree with that because there are assets that are building, there's assets that and foundations that have actually delivered on their roadmap. They're providing tech that's actually solving problems. You have companies that are doing real business and real computation on that network today, not hypothetically 10 years from now, what could Doge do, right? So I just have to keep it in that category until I see something different. If Doge says, hey, we're partnered with Bank of America and we're the exclusive coin for settlement of Bank of America, great. But come on, guys, you really think that any of these financial institutions are going to leverage Doge? I don't think so.
Yeah, there's a big difference in some of these altcoins here. A lot of these I threw on here are coins that Matty loves, but also you get coins that are Doge. And at the end of the day, a lot of these projects are building fundamentals. And then we see, you know, but like inversely, we see altcoins that fall off a cliff, like Time Wonderland, like Luna, that have terrible fundamentals or come out that they're not fundamentally sound in the most general way I could say possible. So these these projects are building, Matty, and so that's where the confidence comes from, right?
Correct.
Nice. All right, ADA.
So Cardano is going to go in the good category, and Cardano is not a bad asset. I just really hate that they went through an entire bull run based on a promise of delivering all these things and then didn't deliver any of these things, right? So it makes me a little bit speculative of why Cardano actually did so well when there wasn't that actual computational demand on the network, right? So since then, they've improved. They've worked down their roadmap. They're doing decent. But again, I think that there are other projects and other foundations that are light years ahead of Cardano in relation to development. So from an investment standpoint, I think that it probably already had its parabolic run. I don't think you're going to get Cardano-esque returns this time around. I also have a trade idea set up for Cardano. I actually have 3 trade ideas for assets that I'm not really like huge fan of, but I'm going to be, you know, buying into them if those prices are presented. That's going to be Solana, Cardano, and Matic. Out of the 3, I like Matic the most, not to get too off track here, but, you know, from a ROI perspective, I'm much more bullish on other assets, especially assets that have better ROIs and have the ability to stake.
All right, Matty, we got a hot altcoin of last bull run that is seemingly like boiling right now. And, it's got its little spots on, the platform X, formerly known as Twitter. Render, where would you throw Render?
Yeah, so Render is going to also go in the good category, and it's actually not because I have anything bad to say about Render. It's because I know that there's already been competition for something very similar, but they're basically taking to something that's already a service and they're just tokenizing it. So right now, let's say you have just a real piece of shit computer from like the early 2000s, right? It's just got like a 2 gigahertz processor. Maybe it's got an internal graphics card and no external GPU, right? Like it's just nothing special. You can go online and you can pay a monthly fee to basically utilize a supercomputer, something that has a fantastic GPU like a 3090 or a 4090, and you can do this already, right? What Render is doing is allowing you to syndicate portions of a GPU. So let's say that, for example, you are a video editor or you're doing 3D modeling, or you just have something that requires a ridiculous amount of RAM or a ridiculous amount of GPU or VRAM power, right? And you don't want to necessarily, fork out, let's say, $3,000 or $4,000 for the full setup you would need to build a computer of your dreams to be able to do your job, right? Or you're in college, you're just learning how to do this. You'd be able to potentially use some of these tokens to create or render a very small portion of, your 3D modeling or whatever, and pay as you go versus paying a monthly fee. Now, again, the only reason it's in the good tier versus the amazing tier is because it already has competition with existing services that people like. But if it starts providing something proprietary, it becomes easier, people really like the product, then yeah, maybe it can move up to amazing. But for now, it stays in the good category.
Hedera hash graph, the ticker HBAR.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and throw HBAR in the amazing tier. Here's the thing, guys. HBAR to me is what Solana could have been. You have on HBAR, you have the NFTs natively, very cheap. You have very high TPS. You have the hash graph model, which is more similar to a DAG model than a blockchain, non-linear consensus, right? And they haven't had the downtime that Solana's had. So really, I think that if you're asking yourself like, hey, I'm looking at these two plays and you're like Solana versus HBAR, I'm far more bullish on HBAR long term. You also have the ability to stake HBAR, and you can also secure it in your ledger using the Hashpack wallet. So HBAR over Solana, long term, absolutely.
All right, Matty, we're gonna do a few more here. We've gotten through a lot here. Next we got here is Zcash.
Cool. So, I kind of struggle with Zcash a bit. I'm probably going to put Zcash in the amazing category. And the reason being is I don't think that there's a lot of competition for privacy coins. There's really only two other assets out there that are providing privacy, and that's going to be Monero and Pirate Chain. Pirate Chain being kind of on the smaller cap side, but really Monero and Zcash are like the poster boys for privacy. The reason it's not going in the perfect tier is because I think we have a lot of regulatory hurdles that we need to overcome before we can confidently say that privacy coins are going to be here forever, right? It's possible that they require that exchanges say, hey, if you want to send Zcash here, you cannot use this shielded address, right? They have to come from an unshielded address, which kind of defeats the purpose of Zcash. But it doesn't mean that the mechanics of it have to change. It just means that people might not be able to use it long term in the way that they want to use it if governments say that. Now, again, that's speculation, but I have to kind of take that into consideration and give it a knockback. From an ROI standpoint, this cycle, it is going to be probably one of my biggest winners right underneath kind of Casper XRP. Maybe even beats out XRP.
All right, Matty, we got two more here. And if people, are glaring at them, it is two of your favorite altcoins. And you haven't had a perfect crypto yet, so we're all interested to see where you place these. But XRP is next.
Yeah, XRP is going in the perfect tier. And, I really don't idolize assets, right? We've talked about this many times. We don't want to be married. We don't want to idolize, but I've just spent so many years now studying and deeply understanding XRP, understanding the foreign exchange markets, understanding the need and the friction that's there, and seeing that we're actually utilizing this product today, right? These ODO corridors have been on in Japan and Africa and other parts of the world for many years now. So it's not speculative computation on the XRP network. You guys are probably highly, highly familiar with everything that Ripple's done. We also have it being the only asset that has regulatory clarity out there right now. So, even from that perspective, it's pretty much perfect, right? Is there always room for improvement? Of course. That's what the amendments are for on these protocols, right? When you want to add features, you want to add things that are going to provide value, you have amendments for those. But again, one of the best things about the XRP ledger, and again, still kind of that decentralized nature of it, is like you have these proposals that go up. Like we had XLS 20 that went up, right? That was the proposal to add NFTs natively onto the XRP network, which are, again, available now. There was actually somebody who voted yes, and they were going to swing the vote correct, in the direction to approve it. But then they actually had somebody who went through and they debugged and they found a vulnerability in the update. So they actually changed their vote no, and they had to delay it almost like a month later. That's a good thing, guys. That's a very good thing. So I actually really like the features they've added. There are validators who care a lot about the longevity of the network, and they're very careful before they upload new updates. And overall, I mean, guys, come on, payments under 3 seconds, fraction of a penny. You're able to settle anywhere in the world in like kind. Amazing. So for me, it's perfect.
All right, Matty, we got the last one here, and I have to say, this crypto is kind of like your calling card. I know you're a part of the XRP community heavily, but this crypto, I don't know, man. This crypto has done something over this bear market with you, and it's just kind of built, and now we're talking about it more and more. And maybe it's just because it is just offering so much potential this upcoming bull run, and for the years to come. But Matty, where are you placing Casper on this list?
Casper's also going to go in the perfect category. And again, guys, I'm so selective about my stuff, right? You guys can see like the number of assets that we're actually talking about on here and the ones I know about a lot, right? It's because I spend the time looking into them. I don't like look at 500 cryptos and know one thing about each 500 of those cryptos, right? That's like a complete huge waste of your time. When we look at Casper, Casper is like what Ethereum should have been, in my opinion. Now, I'm not calling it an ETH killer. I hate that phrase. It drives me nuts. I hate the killer phrases. Like, just compete in that category or say that you're doing something different. Casper has the upgradable smart contracts, right? They have native NFTs. And again, that word upgradable smart contracts means that you can essentially upgrade the functions that are available in an NFT, right? So you can have an NFT that represents intellectual property, which is going to be one of the biggest use cases initially on the Casper network. We also have a company that's doing minting of essentially like you can own pieces of whiskey caskets and reap the rewards of those going up in future, and of course sell those contracts at a later date. But you can create these very complex smart contracts on the Casper network. You can upgrade them and you can create solutions that are specific to you and your enterprise. So having all of this out the gate, same price, absolutely suppressed. Just nobody's interested in it because of the way the chart looks right now. It's really, I think, one of the biggest sleeping giants in this bear market. And of course, you can earn over almost 11% right now in staking rewards. Again, inflation rate's about 8%. You're earning 10%. So even in a bear market, you're netting at least 2 to 2.5%. In a bull market, right, because price is going up so much, you kind of mitigate a lot of that down the road. So, for me, I think that Casper provides a lot of value as an L1. I think it's going to be one of the biggest competitors in this upcoming bull market. And for me, it has to stay in that perfect category because of that.
Great breakdown, Matty. We were just talking about this the other day, just on the topic of, talking about XRP and Casper. We had this conversation the other day about, I was telling you, like, I think we're going to be really surprised this next bull run when it comes to these two cryptos, because now XRP's got clarity and Casper is going to see its first bull run here. And, and that's going to mean a lot for this up and coming crypto that, seems to have like a very tight community on the internet. Right. And so, of course, we base those off Fibonacci's and looking to those to see where price could run to. But between these two cryptos, man, as it gets closer here, what is your thoughts leading up to this bull run in these two cryptos together and performance-wise?
Yeah, so, I actually think, and the more I've got into this and the more I've kind of run the numbers, best case scenario, worst case scenario, I'm wrong about all of this, right? Casper kind of actually kicks XRP's butt from an ROI standpoint. And I hate to say that, right? Because I've been collecting XRP for so long, right? It's a tough conversation. And, again, I'm going to be building both of these bags long-term. It all depends on if and when we get blow off tops, those long-term bags may change a bit because I'm not an idiot. I know what a bear market looks like. I saw the blow off top on Solana. I saw it on AVAX, right? You guys saw what those blow off tops look like. When you get that blow off top, that is the time to get the hell out of the market and keep a very small amount of exposure, because you're always able to snowball and build a bigger position. Your base DCA, right? Your average will come up a little bit, but you're still going to have a good consistent average and more dry powder each and every time. One thing I actually wanted to show you guys very quickly here is a website that Kevin Cage is very fond of. It's called Market Cap Of. And what we can do is we can compare assets. So one thing I want to show you guys, if we took Casper and then we compared it against Cardano, right, which was one of the biggest winners last cycle, and it didn't even, have the roadmap it was supposed to have at current price, right? At current market price, Casper would be worth 80 cents if it had the market cap of Cardano. Now, what I want to show you though, which is already a great ROI because we're trading at 3 cents right now. That's massive opportunity. But if we were to go from Cardano's all-time high, that would put Casper at an $8.40 mark, which is strangely enough supported by a Fibonacci that's just beyond the 4.236. I personally believe this will be the blow-off top scenario for Casper. If we're accumulating right now between 2.5 and 5 cents, and you get an opportunity to sell Casper in that $7 to $8 range, do not be an idiot. That is the blow-off top, in my opinion, and I would be over the moon. You can see from current market price that is a 264x. So am I telling you guys you shouldn't sell anything until there? No, of course. I'm going to be tranching out well before that $1, $2, $3, right? I'm going to be selling a whole bunch in there. But out of that long-term bag, if that blow-off top opportunity is presented, I'm going to take it. I'm going to keep 5 to 10% of my long-term bag. I'll reaccumulate later on. So I hope that you guys are paying attention to these opportunities. I'm very passionate about you guys making money, and I'm not going to tell you guys about anything that I'm not involved in. None of these people give me any kickbacks to talk about their project. I've never been paid to do a review of a project. Everything I give you guys is just my raw thoughts based on my research and development.
Great commentary, Matty. This was a great show. Thank you, Chandler, for that comment. And if any of you guys want us to do something like this in the future, please leave in the comment. It's got to be good. Like this tier list, I saw it and I was like, oh, we haven't done that yet. That would be perfect for the show. So we did it. And maybe we'll do something like this later on. But we'll be back next week, standard show with your guys' questions. So make sure you guys leave those in the comment section below. But until next week, team, we will see ya. Goodbye.